So now let's talk about revolved boss base and revolved cut feature. So for that, once again, I'll go to sketch and I'll start with the front plane. So I'll go to sketch and select the front plane. Now let's go to line, and here I will just maybe start here and I'll start making a very simple geometry using a couple of lines. And there we go. Now as you can see, there is a bit of distance between the origin and this line, and I'll maintain that distance. Now I'll go to smart dimension, and though you should try to add all the dimensions when you are making a real drawing, completely all the dimensions and all the geometric constraints should be added, but in this case I'm just doing it for example, so I will only add a few of these. So that one was 20 and so is this, and I'll leave rest of the dimensions. Now I'll make the axis line, so I'll go to this here and select center line, and along this I will make the center line. Alright, so we have this sketch and the center line. Now I'll exit the sketch and I'll go to features. Now I've deselected this thing using escape key, and now I'll go to revolved boss base. Now you should start with selecting the sketch, and the sketch is this one. So click on any line of this sketch, and not only the sketch but also the axis will be selected, and this is what we are going to get. So as soon as you make the selection, SolidWorks will just figure out this axis of revolution as well, and it will revolve this feature. Now in order to see what we have here, I will first change this parameter, which is the complete angle. It is 360 degrees. Let's make it 270 in tab key. Now in this case, this sketch has started revolving. So this is the sketch we started with, and it has started revolving about this line. So now once it started revolving and it revolved to about 270 degrees, we got this. So that's what this revolve feature is. Now currently it is revolving in direction 1, but if you wanted to revolve in the second direction as well, activate direction 2, and we have same options but a new arrow here, and using this you can even add an angle on the second direction of this. So along the first direction of sketch we have 270 degrees, and along the second direction we have the 52 degree angle here. So you can select both the directions, or you can just leave one of these directions active. And in this case, this single angle value will control the complete revolved feature. We also have more options here. For example, you can select up to vertex. If you have some other vertex in the drawing, you can just select it, and this feature will revolve up to the vertex or up to surface. Also offset from surface. So it's exactly like the extruded boss base feature, where you can take a reference of existing geometries to revolve it up to that point. Now, if you select mid plane, then this will let you revolve it equally along both the sides, assuming that the sketch is at the mid plane. So if I now move this arrow here, look at this, it will just revolve it equally along both the sides. So here it is. That's the mid plane. So I'll deactivate it and go to blind again. Let's now see this thin feature. So this thin feature will basically add this revolved sketch along the sketch path. So if I activate the thin feature, well, this will happen. Now the changes are very significant, and that's why it's not very clear, and in order to make it well kind of clear, I will change this thickness. It is 10 mm. I'll make it 2 mm and tab key, and now you can see the difference. So in this case, this was the sketch and it just started adding thickness along the sketch. So instead of getting a completely solid profile, we will get this kind of hollow profile where the body will be added right along the sketches and everything inside will be completely hollow. So that's the thin feature. Now here also the thin feature will be added in just one direction. So if this is a sketch, the feature is added outside. However, if you want to reverse that, click this and the feature will be added inside. You can also select mid plane in order to add the feature on both the sides of the sketches. So sketch is exactly at the mid plane and the feature will be added 1 mm here, 1 mm outside. And if you want it unequally distributed along the sketch, then select 2 direction, and for both the directions you can specify the distance. For example, one of them is 2. I'll make the second one as only 1 unit. So that's 2 mm outside, 1 mm it's inside the sketch. So that's how you can make this kind of thin feature. I don't want that, so I'll just deactivate it, and now we have a solid feature maybe use an angle of 360, and I'll click OK, and there we have it. That's the solid feature which we'll get. Now in this case we started with an axis. You don't need that. You can even use an axis directly on the sketch. So let's do that. So I'll go to revolve and edit feature. Now I'll go to this axis of revolution and I'll right click and select this clear selection. Now instead of selecting this axis, I'll select the axis right here. And what we get now is this. So it is using this line as axis. Moreover, you can even use another line in maybe completely different plane. For example, I'll right click and select clear, and now this line. So now just by changing the axis, we changed entirely this 3D revolved feature. So if I now click OK, this is what we'll get. So that's 3D revolve feature in a nutshell. Now let's talk about revolved cut, and for that I'll open a completely new drawing. Alright, so here we'll start with sketch again, and I'll go to this polygon feature and I'll make the polygon on this top plane. Alright, right here I'll just make, well, this hexagon. I'm not going to constrain it or add dimensions, so I'll exit this out. I'll go to features and extruded boss base feature. Now let's extrude it up and click OK. So this is, well, pretty normal. We have got this kind of extruded feature. Now let's go to sketch again and sketch, and I'll now add another sketch on front plane. Alright, so I'll go to line tool, and here I'll start maybe here, and I'll add, well, several lines. So this and then this, and here I'll make an arc. To make it, well, I'll just move my cursor back to this point so that it converts into an arc like this. Well, this is not the way I want, so I'll go to this point again and move it out here. Now that looks much better. So there we have it. Now maybe this point, then this, and I'll now make it kind of like this, and here, and once again an arc. So I'll go to arc here, just move starting to the starting point again, and maybe up to this midpoint. Then I'll move it out, and I'll go all the way up and connect it with this. Alright, so we have the sketch. Now let's make the center line. So I'll go to center line and I'll add one right using this as the center. Alright, so this is what we now have. I'll exit the sketch, and once again I'll use a revolve feature, but this time I'll use revolved cut. So I'll go to feature, and now the opposite of this revolve boss base feature is revolved cut. So this will basically remove the geometry. Revolved boss base feature added geometry. This will just remove 3D geometry. So I'll just select this as sketch, and it automatically selected this axis because we've already added it. If not, it will prompt you for axis as well. So now with that, we are going to get this kind of feature. So this is just basically cutting the feature from this 3D extrusion. So in order to see this clearly, I will first click on this green check mark, and now you can see what's going on here. So using this feature as a reference, it did this kind of a clean cut from that hexagonal shape that we made, and that's the revolved cut feature. So using this, you can cut any 3D geometry along a center line. Now all the other features like the thin feature and two directions, which were available in the revolved boss base feature, are also available in the revolved cut feature, and you can use them exactly like the revolved boss base feature.